And so he called up my wife Lily and said, you know, Mom, I think I want to go in the family business. And we both go, what family business is that?
Les Gold's name became famous through hardcore pawn and his massive Detroit pawn empire. But what the cameras never showed was the silent battle happening right beside him. His wife, Lily, remained strong and supportive in the public eye. Yet behind that calm presence was a heartbreaking tragedy she was forced to face alone. What was the pain she kept hidden? And how did it ripple through the Gold family when the world wasn't watching? Stay with us as we reveal the emotional story that will change how you see this power couple forever. The woman behind Les Gold's success.
And you push this down and your fortune would come out.
Lily Gold is a name many viewers of hardcore pawn may not recognize immediately, but her influence runs deeper than most people realize. While her husband, Les Gold, became a bold and recognizable face on television, Lily was the quiet, steady force making sure everything behind that success stayed strong. Born on June 20, 1950, in the vibrant city of Los Angeles, California, Lily grew up far from Detroit's gritty streets, the place she would later become deeply connected to. She carried with her a calm California charm, mixed with a determined spirit that would become one of her greatest strengths. Life eventually brought her to Detroit, and that's where destiny stepped in. When Lily met Les, their bond was more than just love at first sight. It was a partnership that was meant to transform their lives. In 1975, the two tied the knot in Detroit, marking the beginning of a lifelong journey together. But this wasn't just the story of a husband and wife. It was the foundation of a future empire. Together, they fought for every piece of success, building American jewelry and loan not overnight, but through years of dedication and hard work. While Les became the loud, charismatic voice negotiating deals and commanding the spotlight, Lily chose a different path. She stayed behind the curtains, where the real magic of stability and organization happens. She wasn't chasing fame. She didn't need applause. Lily knew exactly how important she was. Her calm leadership shaped the heart of the family business. She handled the responsibilities no camera ever captured, the decisions, the structure, the strength needed to keep a high-pressure business running. She made sure the shop didn't just function, it thrived. The truth is simple. Without Lily, the empire might not stand as tall as it does today. Customers and staff may not always see her, but everything from the shop's environment to its growth holds traces of her care and dedication. Her influence made American Jewelry and Loan not only successful, but a warm and loyal family brand in the heart of Detroit. And beyond the business world, Lily's greatest job was always her family. She nurtured a loving home, supported Les through every challenge, and raised children who would one day help carry the torch forward. She managed motherhood. She managed business. She managed life, with strength wrapped in gentleness. Her marriage to Les is more than just a long timeline. It's a testament to teamwork, 40-plus years of building, adapting, and staying together through every storm. Many only saw Les as the face of the operation, but those who looked closely understood. Lily was the backbone he leaned on. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Even if she rarely appeared on camera, her importance is undeniable. She kept the family grounded, the business focused, and the legacy alive. So while Les Gold may be the star millions recognize, Lily Gold is the reason his world has never fallen apart. She is the strength behind the success, the heart of a family empire, and the partner who helped turn a small Detroit pawn shop into a powerhouse known across America. Now that you know the woman who holds everything together, it's time to turn the spotlight toward her husband. What does life look like for the man who took the pawn world by storm? Let's dive into the story of Les Gold, the legend behind the counter. The making of a pawnbroking icon.
All of a sudden, I hear my dad negotiating for some.
Les Gold's journey didn't begin with cameras rolling or crowds cheering. It began with family, legacy, and a young boy absorbing the art of business right from the source. He was not just introduced to pawnbroking, he was born into it. From the very beginning, his life was tied to the world of buying, selling, and negotiating, almost as if destiny itself had placed him behind a counter with items waiting to be appraised. As Les grew older, he honed those skills into something remarkable. Every deal he watched, every customer he saw, taught him lessons that would turn into success later in life. He eventually became far more than a pawn shop owner. He evolved into a respected author, a well-recognized television face, and one of the most influential figures in modern pawnbroking. But even with all those achievements, two things remain closest to his heart: the thriving pawn business known as American Jewelry and Loan, and the explosive success of the True TV hit series Hardcore Pawn. These two accomplishments solidified him as a household name. However, behind the spotlight and growing fame, the Gold family had to endure a heartbreaking tragedy that left a lasting emotional scar, one especially painful for his wife Lily, who stood strong even through the darkest moments. While millions know Les as the fearless negotiator on television, very few realize how early his passion began. Long before big deals and TV fame, there was simply a boy trying to follow in his family's footsteps. At only 7 years old, Les made his very first sale, proof that his business instincts were already alive and strong. Pawnbroking wasn't a hobby in the Gold family. It was a tradition built over generations. His grandfather owned a well-known shop named Sam's Loans, located on Michigan Avenue in Detroit. That small but busy store became Les's first classroom. He spent hours watching his grandfather interact with customers, mastering the delicate balance between business and human connection. Everything he saw there would one day shape his own success. Years passed, and while Sam's Loans eventually became a restaurant themed around pawnbroking called Gold Cash Gold, the tribute couldn't survive forever and shut down after 6 years in business. But the legacy of that building lived on in Les's heart. By the age of 12, Les was already running his first entrepreneurial hustle. Instead of waiting for opportunities, he created them. His strategy? Buy whole pizzas and sell them slice by slice to classmates, turning a simple snack into a small profit. It was clever, bold, and showed exactly the kind of businessman he was going to become. It wasn't luck that pushed Les forward. It was ambition, instinct, and a hunger to succeed. From a young boy in his grandfather's shop to a powerful name in the industry, every step, every lesson, and every risk played a part in building the empire he stands on today. Building a family empire. Wanting to honor the tradition he grew up with, Les Gold chose to continue the family legacy by opening a pawn shop of his own. In 1978, he took a bold step and launched American Jewelry and Loan inside the Green 8 Shopping Center on 8 Mile Road in Oak Park. It wasn't glamorous or huge at first, but it was the beginning of something powerful. Then, in 1993, he made a decision that changed everything. He moved the business into a massive former bowling alley on Greenfield Road in Detroit, still close to 8 Mile. That shift wasn't just about getting more space. It was the move that turned a small family shop into a giant of the pawn world. The new building covered over 50,000 square feet, giving Les enough room to expand like never before. Under his leadership, customer traffic exploded. Soon, American Jewelry and Loan wasn't just a pawn shop. It became a landmark, serving close to 1,000 customers every single day and eventually expanding into 5 different store locations. Just like his grandfather once did, Les kept the business firmly rooted in family. He had married Lily back in 1975, and together they raised 2 children, Ashley and Seth. When they grew up, the family tradition pulled them naturally into the business. Seth, after attending the University of Michigan, stepped in as co-owner and took charge of marketing. He often joked that without his modern approach, the shop's only advertisement would still be a tiny listing in the yellow pages. Ashley found her own path inside the company as well. She earned a degree in business administration from Michigan State University and received diamond certification from the Gemological Institute of America. After working in the family shop for more than 15 years, aside from a short maternity break, she also became a co-owner. As the shop's popularity soared, they began producing local television commercials. Some even aired during daytime shows like The Jerry Springer Show. That connection led to an interesting twist of fate. The executive producer of Jerry Springer, Richard Dominic, noticed Les and saw something special. In 2008, after leaving his job on the show, Dominic looked toward new media opportunities. And that is where the future of the Gold family changed forever. The reality show rivalry begins. In 2008, shortly after leaving his previous role, Richard Dominic knew exactly who to reach out to. The Gold family immediately came to his mind. Just weeks after stepping away from his job, he picked up the phone with a new idea burning in his head. He remembered his first trip to American Jewelry and Loan clearly. When he walked into the shop, the sight stunned him. This wasn't the tiny corner pawn shop most people picture in their heads. It was massive, loud, full of energy, and filled with customers from wall to wall. It was the kind of place that demanded your attention the second you stepped inside. Dominic saw something special in the Gold family, especially in Les. There was a spark there, the type of personality that could pull viewers in and hold them tight. And the timing was perfect. There were no reality TV shows about pawn shops yet. Nothing like this existed on television. As a producer with strong instincts, he believed Les had the exact personality needed to entertain the world. Whether people loved him or hated him didn't matter. They would certainly watch him. That potential reaction, he thought, is what creates television gold. At first, Les's son Seth wasn't thrilled with the idea. Cameras following them around, families arguing on TV, it felt like a big risk. But Les was far more convinced. He had spent decades fighting for success, and he knew opportunities like this didn't knock twice. So he agreed, and he welcomed the production crew into the Detroit shop. The family-run business, sitting right on the famous 8 Mile Road, suddenly became the set of a future hit show. The wheels of television began turning, and soon, Hardcore Pawn was born. The show was created by RDF USA, later renamed Zodiac Media, together with Richard Dominic Productions. Dominic partnered with producer Mike Gamson as co-executive producer, while both Les and Seth Gold were also listed as executive producers. On December 21, 2009, the world got its first sneak peek when the pilot aired. A second preview episode soon followed. It was the ultimate test. Would viewers care about the gritty reality behind a Detroit pawn shop? They absolutely did. People wanted more. The store itself played a huge role in capturing attention. With over 50,000 square feet of floor space, American Jewelry and Loan held everything from sparkling jewelry and electronics to unexpected items nobody could have guessed would appear in a pawn shop. Every object had a story, some emotional, some bizarre, and some so wild that the audience questioned whether they were even real. But real or not, audiences were hooked. The interactions were what made the show shine. Les Gold worked the front lines each day with his children, Ashley and Seth, right beside him. They ran the shop with 45 employees and helped up to 1,000 customers a day. Les promised audiences something raw, real people dealing with difficult moments in life, laughing, arguing, and sometimes breaking down. When the full series officially premiered on August 16, 2010, it exploded into popularity. Fans everywhere were caught up in the chaos of the Gold family's pawn empire. Viewers still remember the jaw-dropping moments from early episodes. A man marched in carrying a cannon, and Les didn't just price it, he fired it. Another customer brought in a homemade stripper pole. Some even walked horses inside the showroom. The first full episode pulled in 2 million viewers, making it the most-watched premiere in true TV history. Overnight, Hardcore Pawn became a household name. But with success came controversy. During that same period, a different idea was taking shape over in Las Vegas. Producers Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines had visited a few quirky pawn shops during a weekend trip in 2008. That experience gave them the idea for another show, one that would be called Pawn Stars. They chose the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop just 2 miles from the Vegas Strip and brought in Rick Harrison, together with his son Corey and his father Richard, known as the Old Man. Each episode focused on 6 antique or collectible items from the thousands they had in stock. Experts were invited to judge authenticity and give estimated value. The show blended interesting history with internal family drama, another recipe for success. When the first season of Pawn Stars launched in July 2009 on the History Channel, it quickly became a hit. Fans loved the humor, the knowledge, and the negotiation battles. It felt like a cooler version of Antiques Roadshow, but not everyone was impressed. Other pawn shop owners argued that the show was unrealistic, rarely showing common everyday items that most pawn stores rely on. No matter the criticism, the ratings kept skyrocketing. And because Pawn Stars aired before Hardcore Pawn, many viewers assumed Les copied the idea. Online comments started suggesting that Hardcore Pawn was just a Detroit version of Pawn Stars. But Les Gold was not having that. He defended his show fiercely. He explained that where Pawn Stars looked like a polished antique shop, his show represented the raw struggle of real Detroit life. He emphasized that people on his show weren't collectors looking for fun trivia. They were families trying to survive. They stood in long lines, pawning their belongings, because they had no other choice. That, Les insisted, made Hardcore Pawn authentic. And when people pointed out that his show aired at the same time slot as Pawn Stars, hinting at copying strategy, Les pushed back again. He proudly declared that their show followed real customers, real arguments, and real emotions. Nothing scripted. No staged customers, no rehearsed deals. Just pure Detroit reality. Still, Les admitted something important. Cameras can change people. Once the lights turned on, some customers behaved in strange or exaggerated ways. But unpredictability was part of the job. Then Mark Juris from True TV stepped into the debate. He explained that Hardcore Pawn was already being developed long before Pawn Stars became famous. It simply took time to test and adjust the format. Originally, the show had a heavier emotional tone, showing poverty, struggle, and dangerous security issues in Detroit. But the network realized viewers preferred outrageous items and funny conflict. So by season 2, they shifted focus. Still, rumors spread that certain scenes were too dramatic to be real. A New York Post writer, Linda Stassi, suggested some interactions felt staged. A man nicknamed Big Daddy, who appeared in a 2011 episode, which never aired, claimed his visit was natural, but noticed another person on screen being coached. Even with all the rumors, the Gold family refused to let distractions pull them away from what mattered most: their business. In 2011, they expanded by buying Premier Jewelry and Loan in Pontiac. This new shop appeared in Season 5 and again in Season 6, marking another major step in their growing empire. The success of the show brought money, fame, and opportunity, but it also brought pressure. And soon the personal life of the Gold family would face heartbreak no one could have predicted. What was the tragedy that left a permanent scar on Les Gold's family? And how did it change everything behind the scenes? That is where the story turns darker and much more personal. Painful challenges behind the pawnshop fame. One of the most unforgettable events in the entire show unfolded during Season 5. Seth, the son of Les Gold, made a bold and shocking move. Even though the Pontiac branch was not performing well, Les had clearly stated many times that selling it was never going to be an option. But Seth saw things differently. He secretly began searching for potential buyers behind his father's back. The moment fans witnessed this play out, jaws dropped everywhere. Ashley wanted absolutely nothing to do with Seth's mission. She stood her ground and walked away from his risky plan. But while Ashley removed herself from the situation, Seth continued forward. He believed he was doing what was best for the business, even if it meant crossing a line. Then came the moment no one expected. One of the potential buyers walked straight up to Les, excited and ready to talk. The man had no idea that Seth had kept Les completely uninformed. When the buyer mentioned the possible sale, Les froze. He could not believe what he was hearing. His own son, his trusted partner, had gone behind his back. In that instant, disbelief turned into anger. Les snatched the paperwork and tore it to pieces without hesitation. He made it loud and clear. The store was not for sale. When Seth arrived afterward, emotions exploded. Father and son clashed in one of the most intense and heartbreaking confrontations the show had ever seen. Les, filled with disappointment and fury, suddenly walked away and said he could not even look at Seth. Many viewers thought that might be the end of Seth's involvement in both the shop and the show. The emotional toll affected the entire family, especially Les's wife. The idea of one child betraying the trust that built their whole business was devastating. Even though Les later forgave Seth, the scar left behind was not easy to ignore. Trust, once broken, doesn't simply snap back into place. But while the world was focused on Seth's shocking move, something else was shifting quietly in the background. Rick, also known as Rich, had worked at American Jewelry and Loan for more than 2 decades. He wasn't just another staff member. He was the store manager and had been part of the team long before Hollywood cameras arrived. For 25 years, Rick stood by Les's side. But things changed when a heated disagreement occurred on screen. Slowly, Rick began to appear less frequently on camera. Eventually, he was gone completely. Fans immediately noticed, and the rumors began. Some whispered that his rising popularity made him a threat to the main cast. Others speculated there were problems viewers were not seeing. Bobby Janik, another employee, later revealed his own perspective. He explained that Rick was incredibly knowledgeable, especially with musical items. He had a natural charm that made customers feel comfortable. But over time, Bobby noticed a shift. With fame came attention. Lots of it. Rick enjoyed the cameras, the photos with fans, and the spotlight that came with being part of the show. Slowly, his passion for work seemed to dim, while his focus on TV fame grew. As Rick lost interest, Bobby was pushed forward to fill the gaps. However, drama soon followed. Rick's wife reportedly began posting harsh comments about Bobby online. The situation spiraled until Les and Seth had to intervene. Rick was placed on probation, but that was not enough to fix what had already changed. Soon after, Les and Seth decided it was best to let him go. It became clear there was far more happening behind the scenes than what viewers saw on TV. Once Rick was gone, the workload increased for everyone, especially the Gold family. As hardcore pawn surged in popularity, the demands grew. The 6th season hit around 2.6 million viewers, and by mid-2013, that number had passed 3 million. Part of that growth came from a surprising twist: celebrity appearances. It wasn't something anyone expected, well-known stars walking into a Detroit pawn shop. But it happened. One of the most exciting moments was when Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad dropped by. Even though he didn't end up buying anything, the visit boosted the show's buzz. At that point, many fans believed the Gold family had become celebrities themselves. With fame, though, came more intense attention, and not all of it was comfortable. One example still sparks debate among viewers. Les proudly displayed a very controversial item: a van once owned by Dr. Jack Kevorkian, famously known as Dr. Death. This was the same van reportedly connected to more than 100 assisted death cases. Les bought the vehicle from a junkyard for over $20,000 and later sold it for a profit of $5,000. But the truth was, the van gave him unsettling vibes, and he was happy to see it gone. That van was eerie, even for a tough businessman like Les Gold. Odd and sometimes creepy objects like that became a signature part of the show. Fans tuned in week after week because they never knew what strange item or dramatic argument would arrive next. But while the cameras focused on the wild moments happening inside the shop, the real heartbreak and most serious conflicts were happening off-screen, away from viewers' eyes. There were deeper struggles within the Gold family, pressures from fame, and emotional battles that reality TV could never fully show. And soon, those personal challenges would lead to a tragedy that no one saw coming. A loss that changed everything forever. What happened to the Gold family that left such a painful mark? And how did it impact the future of their pawn empire? In the next chapter, the truth comes to light. The truth behind the pawn shop. Reality. Former employee Bobby, who appeared regularly on the show, eventually opened up about what life was really like behind the cameras. He said there was one question fans asked him over and over again. Was any of the stealing staged? His answer was clear and confident. He insisted that what people saw on television, especially when it came to the employees being caught, was completely real. Nothing was scripted or exaggerated for drama. One episode that deeply shook viewers involved Joe, the security guard Les trusted like family. When Joe was caught stealing, the betrayal hit hard. Bobby explained that while the outside world saw them as co-workers, inside the shop they lived like a close family. They spent long days together, they supported each other like siblings, and they looked out for one another when things got tough. So, when someone crossed the line, the emotional fallout was not just a show, it was truly painful. Bobby said there were many moments when the atmosphere inside the shop was tense and uncomfortable. Not every day was filled with jokes and exciting deals. There were arguments, raised voices, misunderstandings, and stressful situations. But at the end of the day, no matter how intense things got, they always found a way to come back together. Loyalty ran deep inside those walls, and the love for the business kept them all moving forward. Through success, betrayal, conflict, and chaos, Les Gold remained the anchor of it all. He had experienced every high and low a business owner could face. So, when he decided to share his knowledge with the world, people were eager to hear what he had to say. Les wrote a book titled For What It's Worth, Business Wisdom from a Pawnbroker, which was released on June 1, 2013. It wasn't just a memoir, it was a powerful guide for anyone who wanted to learn how to negotiate, alert, or simply survive in a competitive world. He shared lessons he learned from childhood inside Sam's Loans all the way to running one of the busiest pawn shops in America. He taught readers how to think smart, speak smart, and strike deals the way a true pawnbroker does. The book became a huge success. By the end of June, it had reached number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list in the advice and how-to category. And in July, it climbed to number 8 on the hardcover business chart. Les even appeared on Good Morning America on June 18th, where he confidently explained his 3 biggest rules for negotiation, tips that helped shape his life's success. The popularity of Hardcore Pawn reached such a strong level that spin-off shows were created to give audiences even more pawn shop excitement. One of them was Combat Pawn, which focused on the intense and emotional world of a military-oriented gun shop near Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Another spin-off was Hardcore Pawn Chicago, centered on the Royal Pawn Shop owned by brothers Randy and Wayne Cohen. Their family had been in the pawn business for more than 100 years, and their show brought a whole new dynamic to fans who craved pawn shop drama from different cities. It looked like the Gold family's empire was unstoppable. The audience was loyal, the ratings were strong, and the interest was still growing. Yet suddenly, and unexpectedly, the momentum slowed down. True TV, the network behind the show, announced a shift in direction. They wanted to focus more on comedy-centered programming, and felt that the gritty and emotional tone of a real-life pawn shop did not match their new brand anymore. There was no grand farewell episode, no dramatic announcement. The show simply came to a quiet stop. And just like that, a major chapter in reality television came to an end. Not because the viewers stopped watching, they were still tuning in by the millions, but because the network turned away toward a different future. The lights shut off, the cameras stopped rolling, and fans everywhere were left with one question: what happens next for the Gold family? Because while the world saw the end of a TV show, their personal story was far from over. And that concludes the untold story behind the Gold family and the rise and fall of hardcore pawn. From family loyalty to intense drama and unforgettable moments, their journey proved that reality can be even wilder than television. If you enjoyed diving into the truth behind their legacy, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and let us know which story you want to uncover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.